So thanks for joining us tonight for our senior year and beyond presentation for our current juniors, class of 2023, if you can believe it. Today we're going to go over all kinds of things for registration for next year and also address a lot of the questions that y'all have about what's next in regards to college and post high school plans. We'll be touching on all of those things here tonight. The slides will be posted, the presentation will be posted, and your student also has lots of opportunities to see us with individual questions as they come up. There is a Q&A open for you to put questions in. We are going to hold most of the questions to the end, so feel free to write questions as you have them as we're talking, and then if I see the question I can answer it live, I will. And then if not, we'll stay on a little later to do individual questions there at the end. So feel free to type your questions there. Okay, so like I said, overview, getting ready for senior year, course, class choices and requirements. So what do seniors need to take? What can they take? What are the options? We'll go over transcripts, what that looks like, what kinds of credits you need for graduation as compared to going straight to a four-year college, how to register online for classes. That process hasn't changed in a few years, thankfully. And then also we'll be covering our program that we use for college and career planning called Naviance. Every year we seem to have a small shift in our counseling department, and we have 3 new wonderful counselors with us this year. So if you're not sure who your counselor is, I put the new alphabet breakdown here, in addition to the additional support that we have at school. So we have Miss Mullins, who's a support counselor for all students, Ms. Goldenberg, who's a counselor last year with us and a few years previously, but she's now a social worker working in our wellness center. So she's another resource for everyone. And then also Ms. Nichols, who is new to our staff this year, but not new to Cal High by any stretch. She's had several kids go through Cal High and has been around campus for probably the last 20 years or so. And she's our new College and Career Center coordinator. All of these are wonderful resources for all students. So I like to start this with just, first, we can just take a nice deep breath in and out. I know this is an overwhelming time for everybody, just kind of thinking about what these next steps are. The good news is we have lots of time and you've got lots of resources at your fingertips to kind of get through all of it. You know, we see 700 or so seniors through this process every year. So we've kind of seen it all, and we're here to help you navigate each step of it. Okay, the first thing is just classes for next year, right? Every year the requirements and the options change a little bit as you get through. So there's fewer requirements for seniors, right? Because you've done most of the things. So all seniors have to take English, and all seniors have to take government and econ. What's great about English for senior year is you've got a lot of choices. So you can kind of start picking based on your interests for different things. So we have English 12 or English 12 that has a social justice focus, composition, which focuses on writing, novel, which is a little bit more focused on reading, science fiction and fantasy, obviously, if you're interested in reading those genres, and then also AP literature. So the AP English class focuses on British Lit. So those are all of your English choices. And then for Gov and Econ, the standard classes are both 1 semester each. So 1 semester of Gov followed by 1 semester of Econ, or vice versa. And then students also have an option for the AP versions of both government and Econ. The AP classes are both year long. So they would both take, together 2 spots in a student schedule for senior year. Math, we always recommend a 4th year of math, depending on the student. If we do have a 4-year college bound student, we do definitely recommend that 4th year of math. Science, depending on what you've taken, most colleges ask for, a recommended 3 years, even if 2 years is the requirement. We do recommend that 3rd year, sometimes even a 4th year, depending on what you are interested in, what you plan to study in college. A 4th year of science might be recommended. World language, 2 years is required for most colleges, 3 years is recommended. And if it's something that you really love, obviously going on to the 4th level or even the AP version of the language that you're studying is a good idea. And then we have a large number of electives. Last week, we went into your classes, into your history classes, I think, and gave you the course selection sheet. So all of the things I just said, you have on a gold colored piece of paper that we gave you in class. And on the back side of that has all, thank you, Christine, all of the choices that you have for all of your electives are on there. So please look through it. I always recommend students and parents go onto the course catalog on the district website. And I always just Google SRVUSD course catalog, and you'll get a course description of every class that we have. So you can see kind of, what you'd be covering and if you're interested in taking that. We also, after the last few years, have the option of seniors having an unscheduled period if they want to take 5 classes with us. If you've met all your requirements, you can take 5 classes instead of 6 and then get out a little bit earlier every other day. And that leads me to my next point about the bell schedule. I'm sure many of you have heard that the bell schedules are changing for next year. They've changed a little bit over the last couple of years, each year actually, but you may have heard that A period is we are no longer able to offer an early morning period starting at 7:30. It was a new state law that was passed that said that high school instruction can't start before 8:30. So we are adjusting our bell schedules, and we are in right near the end of picking that final bell schedule. So we don't have the exact minute breakdown yet. But if a student wants to take that 7th class, wanted to take an extended school day, you still can. It's going to be offered though at the end of the school day instead of in the early morning. So we don't yet, like I said, have the exact minutes worked out. We have a committee working on that now. But if a student takes the standard 6-period day, they could expect to be released around 2:30 to 2:45. And if they take 7 classes, then they would be released 3:30 to 3:45. So that's kind of what you can expect, and that final bell schedule is coming soon. Students, you must have 5 classes. That's the minimum, but you can take 5, 6, or 7, depending on what you have left to do and other classes that you still want to take. And so our choices are there: the standard 1 through 6, early release 1 through 5, or that extended day 1 through 7. It'll be a little bit of an adjustment for us, but I think the extra sleep will maybe do us all a little bit of good. Okay, so with our AP and honors classes, just a few things. We've been talking so much about balance and making sure you're not taking on too much. And when a student takes an AP class, as you know, if you've taken one, you are signing up for more. You're saying, I really love this topic. I want to really learn deeply about this particular class. And so I'm willing to spend extra time on homework, extra time on studying to take this class. It's a college level class, right? You might get college credit for the class. So it's a bit more. So we want students to be really intentional and really mindful when they're picking these AP and honors courses, knowing that we want you to have a full and rich life outside of school. And when you sign up for too much in terms of academics, it makes it hard to balance all of those things. So our school recommendation is no more than 2 advanced classes, honors or AP. And no students have to take any. Some students will come asking us, how many AP classes do I have to get into college? If we had that answer, we would be rich, but there's no special number. It's different for each student, and no student is required to take any AP or honors classes. There is an AP and honors contract that we've written up really just to make sure that students and families understand the commitment of taking one of these advanced classes. That will be shared with you if you do choose to sign up for one of these, and we'd love you to sit down with your parent and guardian to look over it and make sure that everyone in the family, because this is kind of a family commitment, knows what we're signing up for when we sign up for these classes. Like I said, we want to make sure you're balancing your schedule, combination of classes that can be maintained considering your other commitments, your life outside of school, self-care, family time, friends, fun, sports, whatever it is that you do outside. And then finally, like I said, make sure you check that course catalog for recommendations for the class. It will tell you, for an AP English class that, your previous English class, you should have earned an A- or something like that. So check the course catalog for those types of recommendations and talk to your teachers. You'll have time to talk with your counselor as well. But if you're thinking about going forward in, say, an AP history class, talk to your history teacher that you have this year and see if they think that's a good fit for you. You know, now is a good time to find out that information so you make good choices for yourself. I'd like to talk a little bit about non-district courses. Some of you may have been around with older students when these non-district courses came into play in the district. So students now have the opportunity, if they want, to take classes that are required for graduation off campus, either on at DVC, for example, or Las Positas, or online. And while it can be a good option for students, especially if they are interested in a class that we don't offer, it certainly isn't something that is required by any means or needed to get into college or anything like that. So students are in no way required to take summer classes, you know, unless they need to remediate a class they've taken with us. And really the feedback that we're getting from colleges is that they prefer students to take the classes at their high school whenever possible, because that's much more telling, I think, for a college of how you'll do in their academic setting, you know, how you did in a regular high school class versus an online shortened class, which is what a lot of these things are. We also hear from students that, you know, taking additional classes outside, and this isn't surprising, is increasing their stress levels. Of course, adding more to-do items does nothing for our stress levels. So it's something to consider. And finally, we also notice that, especially with the math and sciences and world languages, that students are often not prepared as well as they might have been had they taken a class with us. So just all things to consider as you decide if you're going to take a class outside the district. It's really important that you let us know if you're going to do this over the summer, because we make our schedule based on the classes that you need. And so if you're advancing through math or science or something, we need to know, and there's steps on the district website for you to do that. And that is due to the district by June 24th or 2nd. Maybe Christine can check on that for me.
June 24th.
Thank you. So if you are taking a summer class to advance, right, to go up to a higher level, or to take a graduation requirement over the summer, we need to know by June 24th. Okay, online registration, this hasn't changed. So and that should say class of 2023, I think, for you guys. This hasn't changed. You're going to log into your student portal, and you're going to put your classes in just like you have over the last several years. So the instructions for how to do this will be posted in your Schoology group. So students, you can log into your class of 2023 Schoology group, and the instructions are there, even though I think most of you could probably do it without those instructions. The portal is open from the 1st to the 10th. So you have, you know, the next couple of weeks still to look over the choices and to make your decisions about what classes you want to take. The portal's open for those 10 days. It's not first come, first serve. So please don't wake up early on March 1st and get your classes in before school. You don't need to do that. It doesn't change your priority for classes or anything like that. As seniors, you're going to have priority for classes, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, I just said that. And a hard copy. So at the end, the very last step on the instructions you're going to find is to actually print out the classes that you chose, and a parent or guardian needs to sign it. And you'll turn this into school, either in your English classes or in the counseling office by March 11th. So still lots of time to think about what you're doing. And what I want you to know too is that this is a really low stakes activity, because if you make a mistake or you change your mind, there's plenty of time to correct it. You are going to sit down with your counselor students one-on-one during your English classes during the week of April 18th. I know that sounds like a really far away. It's after spring break. It's in several weeks. But during that time, we're going to look at your transcript. We're going to talk to you a little bit about your plans for post-high school. So, are you thinking about going to a four-year college? Are you thinking about community college? Kind of what's your plan? And we'll look at the classes you signed up for. And after that, we will be able to make our recommendations about, okay, let's tweak this, let's change that, or whatever it might be. So we've got plenty of time to work it out. You're going to get a one-on-one session with your counselor to make sure that you have everything you need for graduation and your college plan. So no need to worry about that. And again, this is done through the student portal only. And from what I've heard, the parent portal does not have this capability. So it has to be the student login to get in there and do that. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Avogadro.
Okay, So I do also want to reiterate that a lot of the information that was just shared is on the, well, this one's white, but on the gold sheet, I believe it was gold, that was given to all of your students, I believe last week. And so really great, like one snapshot of all the information that we're sharing with you here. And so kind of breaking down our credits for high school graduation versus if they're going to a four-year university directly. We get a lot of misconception for some students of, what is expected in order for them to get to X, Y, and Z places. So we're going to have a quick breakdown of what exactly is required for graduation and then what's required for different school institutions. So the breakdown here, we have the graduation requirements in the middle. On the left-hand side is the subject area. So if you've heard anything called the A through G requirements, those are generally used for the UCs and the CSUs. And so each letter is a different subject area. And so on the right-hand side, we have the requirements for the UCs or CSUs typically, which are also very appropriate for a lot of the outside colleges. But we do want to make sure that students, if you are looking at a school outside of California or a private institution within California, to make sure of your specific school's requirements. Sometimes they are a little bit more or a little less than the A through Gs if it's not a CSU or a UC. So for social science, our requirements for graduation start off with world history, US history, government, and econ in your senior year. The A through G requirements are the world history and US history. So a little bit of a difference there. For English, it's the same for both graduation and for colleges. For math, the minimum requirements for graduation are the 10 credits of algebra and 10 credits of general math. So whether that be geometry, pre-calc, calculus, and then for A through G requirements, we're looking for algebra, geometry, algebra 2, and typically a fourth year of math. So just keep those things in mind. It is okay if your student may have done algebra 1 in middle school. That has happened for some of our students. And so that is on their transcript and will be seen by the colleges that they already completed it before arriving with us. For science, we have the 10 credits of life science and 10 credits of physical science. So life science would typically be like a biology course, and then physical science is typically either chemistry or physics. For the A through G requirements, similar, but they are also recommending a third year of a science, especially if they're going into a STEM field. They might actually be looking for a fourth year as well. For world language and fine arts, for our graduation requirements, we're looking for students to meet 2 out of the 3 categories that we offer for their electives. So we have world language, fine arts, or applied arts or vocational arts. So they just have to hit 2 out of those 3 categories. For A through G, they're looking for the language and the fine art, so 1 year of each. Typically, they're looking for 2 years of the same language for the colleges. So that's going up to a level 2 or level 3 recommended for a lot of our colleges as well. And then for fine art, just the 1 year. So the rest of their electives, there's 50 credits that are required. So anything that's above and beyond the minimum graduation requirements on the left-hand side. So the third year of algebra or third year of science would typically also count as their elective credits. And so any of those would count as a G credit and would be like reallocated essentially. We also have physical education for our graduation requirements, typically 2 years for students. So most students will have PE 9 and then another PE option throughout high school. And then we also require health for graduation. Neither of those requirements are necessary for colleges. It's just for graduation. Okay, so as for grades, At Cal High, a D- is our lowest acceptable grade for students to be able to earn the credit. So the 5 credits per semester or 10 credits per year in order to move forward. And then for the UCs and CSUs, the minimum that they're looking for is a C-. So if a student does receive a D in any of their courses, especially for their core courses, those may need remediation in order for the colleges to accept them. For other 4-year universities, most of them follow suit and require the C- minimum. So yeah, anything below that may be necessary for remediation. So if they take that either during summer school or take it again with us or anything of that sort. Okay, so quick snapshot of what a junior transcript may look like. So this may look familiar to you all. I know we had a couple questions regarding the academic credit tracker on our Infinite Campus portal. That one's not like the most accurate, so we definitely would recommend to take a look at the transcript view of the credit summaries, because this will be like the most accurate that we can offer you. So just to point out, students should have earned at least 150 credits at the end of their 11th grade to be on track for graduation. So in the credit summary box on that right-hand side, you can see that under earned total credits right above that comment. And so elective credits, that 70 may look a little daunting. They are not required. Like I said before, anything that's above and beyond the minimum graduation requirements will be reallocated towards electives. And then students who are deficient in credits must make up their courses either through summer school by taking a 7th course or through credit recovery. So we will have those options for students real soon. I think we're still finalizing what our like summer school is looking like. So as soon as we have that information, we will share that with our families. And then students must complete the 2 out of the 3 areas for the vocational or applied art. So those are kind of interchangeable. Fine art, which is visual or performing arts, and then the world language.
And I will just add, the district has decided to offer, we are offering summer school like we always have. It is in person and it's going to be at Monte Vista. So again, that's only for remediation if a student has earned a D or an F in a core class like English, history, science, or math. They'll have the opportunity to retake that course over the summer at our district summer school.
Okay. So of course, being in junior year, we're also looking into life after high school, and a lot of that preparation does happen during your senior year. And so we do have a really great software tool that we use called Naviance, and it allows us to work with our students using the platform for college and career planning. And so next slide has a little bit better of a breakdown. So you can get onto Naviance through your SRV USD portal. And so it is one of the little tiles or applications on there. And this can be used for exploring careers. They have a lot of different like career interest profilers, surveys, strengths finders to see what your students' strengths are. They have features to build your resume, find scholarships, and research colleges. They also have tech and art schools available on there. We use it specifically for our seniors for tracking their college applications. They can request their transcripts on there, and also we have our college visits usually indicated on there who's coming onto campus, and they can sign up on the Naviance application. So this is just a quick snapshot of what it looks like for our students on the student end. And so we usually have a quick blurb on the left-hand side, and then the right-hand side for my favorites, you can have a list of colleges you're thinking about. If you are deciding that you're going to apply to them, you can move them to your next list of colleges I'm applying to. And then the careers and clusters, just general careers that you might be thinking about, or just cluster of industries. So you might not be sure where in the medical field you're considering, but that you know that you want to go into like healthcare or medical. That is a really great way to kind of keep track of different careers within that industry that you're interested in. And then the last bit there, scholarships and money, you'd be able to like favorite your scholarships if there are any on there that you'd like to apply to. So for colleges, they have an amazing search tool. And so you can really research colleges that you already have heard of. You want to get a little bit more information. But on the left-hand side where it says find your fit, we have a really great super match tool that allows you to search based off of location or major, the size of the school, if you're looking for a lot of students to be on campus with you, or if you're looking for a smaller, more intimate setting, what kind of activities or sports they may have available to you, if you're looking for something that's going to be closer to the city or more in the suburbs. So it allows you to really kind of tailor what kind of colleges you're looking for, and it is able to draw up which schools might match what your interests are in a school. And so another really great feature here for each of the schools is being able to see their acceptance rates, what the fees are, dates and deadlines for the school. And we also have Cal High specific information. We have, all of our students who've gone through, use Naviance. We've been able to get data regarding what their scores may have been, what their GPAs may have been, and being able to see where you might land on this scattergram. And so based off of your GPA, weighted or unweighted, and then based off of your SAT score, if you took the SAT, we'll be getting into that a little bit later. But just kind of being able to see where students graduating from Cal High have been able to get into based off of their data.
Yeah, I always think this is the most useful tool on this entire site. All of these green check marks and red X's are Cal High students that have applied to the school and what their success rate has been was based on their GPA and test score. You can't get this information anywhere else. So really, really recommend you use it, and it helps students, it helps you figure out what is a reach school. Is UC Berkeley a reach school? The answer is yes for everyone. You can just figure out, where do these schools fit on my list? And it's just wonderful information that you literally cannot get anywhere else.
Okay, so we'd also like to reiterate that there is a college for everyone. There's over 3,000 schools in the country, and we have some students who apply out of country. And so keeping that in mind, not everything just, my friend applied here, so I'm gonna apply here isn't necessarily gonna be the best fit for you, because they might be going for a completely different major. They might be more interested in certain clubs that they have on campus or a specific program that they have, while that might not be an interest to you. And then casting a wider net and making sure that you find schools that do match your interests, being able to use that search tool, and seeing also what is affordable for you and your family is a really big piece of the conversation. And knowing, what schools might cost, what scholarships you might be able to apply for and qualify for, if there's grants or anything of that sort. So just make sure that you are aware of all of the different factors that come into choosing a college or college fit. And so some college myths. It does not take all A's to get into a good college. Definitely just want to reiterate that. Good schools are well known and have low acceptance rates. And so just keeping in mind that, there's going to be a good school that's just, very popular in name versus a good school that meets all of the different requirements that you are looking for in a school, has the clubs, have the, majors that you're requiring for yourself. I had a cousin who wanted to apply to certain schools, and she wanted to be a nursing major. That is not most of our UCs. They don't actually have a nursing program on their campus. So was that a good fit for her? No. Were they great schools? Yes. So, making sure that you know what it is that you're looking for into like in a school. And then the taking outside classes and summer advancement, or else you're behind. Ms. Bellini already covered that. It is not required in order to get into a good school. You do not need to take as many APs as possible, especially if it's something that's going to burn you out or have your grades suffer because you're not able to spend as much time as you need to in each of your courses. And the harder schools to get into does not necessarily make it better. That just means that a lot more students are applying there, possibly just because they've recognized the name, not necessarily because that is the school that they really want to go to or is the best fit for them. And then selectivity and prestige does not necessarily equal a successful graduate. And so keeping in mind, just because it's a hard school to get into does not mean it's a good school for you. So again, we want to really emphasize that a college fit is going to be the most important thing for you and your student.
And I also always like to add on this point is when we just think about our geography, where we are in the schools that are around us, it gives us this sense that every school is incredibly difficult to get into. And that just isn't the case. We happen to be right here by Berkeley and by Stanford, which are two of the most selective colleges in the country, so we have to kind of just think a little bit more broadly about what options there are out there. And when we do these presentations with students, I always just laugh because many students we're saying all these things, and then I look around the room and almost all the students I'm looking at are looking at the Stanford page. And so I understand it's something that we've always hear about. We see them playing football on TV and all those things, but we want to make sure that students and parents and families are realizing that there's just literally thousands of options for you and your students. So we feel very optimistic about this process for all of our students.
Okay, and so we do have more information on the college research piece. We did present to the juniors in their English classes during the fall. And so we have the presentation linked here. So you can, once we send out this presentation, you'll be able to click into that and look over the college search tools that we've used. Okay, so planning for colleges, 4 years and 4-year colleges and universities. So we do have a lot of options. As Ms. Bellini had mentioned, we have a lot of great schools just within our area. So we do have 23 CSUs in California. We have 9 undergraduate UCs, not including UCSF, which is a graduate college only. And we have private colleges. We have out-of-state options, which a lot of our students apply to as well. And we also have some really close community colleges, DVC and Las Positas being the 2 most common for our students, but we do have students going to community colleges also in Southern California or a little further out in the Bay Area. So just really different community colleges do have specific programs that they have. And so it may be more beneficial for them to go to a different community college that has a specific program of their interest. I think it was DVC that had the dental hygienist as well, right? And I think Chabot has a fire academy, so really great option. And then we also have our trade and vocational schools in the area too.
Yeah, I always have to laugh because I went to a DVC conference and I left wanting to be a dental hygienist. I was so inspired by their program, so impressed. And that's just one example of one of the many programs they have that are straight to job options at DVC. And we're gonna talk more about DVC later, but we're huge DVC fans over here at Cal High.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so RAC, which stands for the Regional Admissions Counselors of California, are helping us host a out-of-state college fair. So that is going to be next month in the evening. We don't have the time locked down quite yet, but it will be at Cal High in our commons. And this is going to be open to Cal High and Doherty Valley families. And so it's going to be why consider out-of-state schools. They'll go into information about the different scholarships and financial aid that they have to offer, because some of them do participate in this thing called the WUI, which is the Western University Exchange, I believe. And so they do have specific programs and qualifications in order to actually qualify for in-state tuition, even though you're going to an out-of-state college. So really great event that we have coming up. And so more information will be coming out to you soon.
Okay, I think I'm going to take it back, right, Christine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. We could obviously present about these topics for hours. Obviously, you know, there's no real limit to the amount we could say about all these things. And so what we've been working on, I've been at Cal High 6 years, and this was in existence then. And we've just continued to grow it every year, is the Senior Survival Guide. And we've now posted it as a website. We used to print it out not that long ago into a paper packet that we handed out to students, but now it's a living Google website where, as all of this new information comes in, we add to it. It's really a great resource. I'm going to click over there for you. If I can figure, I have many windows open. If I can figure out how to get there. Does that work? You guys can see that? So the Senior Survival Guide really just goes, thinking about a new name. It sounds a little ominous, but it talks about basically all of the things that we've just talked about, but in much more detail. So credits and grad requirements, choosing the next steps for you, you know, for your college, community college, technical programs. It's where all the information like this lives. Naviance, really step-by-step, what the program is, how to really utilize it and get the most out of it, self-discovery, career exploration, all of those things. So we are working on this regularly. Whenever something new comes up or something changes, we head right over here and update it. So we really recommend students, mostly you, but also with the help of your parents or guardians, sit down and read this thing. You know, that's kind of a good to-do list item as you're preparing for this next step, is read through all of this, especially when you are working, say, on a weekend or late at night on a college application, and you come up with a question. The answer is probably in here. And we might not be answering our emails at that hour, but this information is here available to you all the time. So really recommend you get comfortable and get real acquainted with this information. It will come in real handy for you as you go through. So I know everyone always wants to know, well, what should I be doing right now? And the answer is you're not behind at all ever. You're not behind. So we're not even at the beginning of this yet. Right? We're at the pre-beginning of this, but I know people want to know, what should I be doing now? And so I made this little timeline for you. And right now we're spring of your junior year. What should you be doing now? Just like for the last 2 years, you should be focusing on your classes. The thing you have most control over right now is your grades and how you do in your classes. So engage with your classes, get extra help from your teachers if you need to, focus on doing well in your classes now. This is all to say, obviously, focusing on your mental health and overall well-being first. But when it comes to college applications, focus on those classes now. Researching colleges. So students, you know, we came to see you in your English classes about 2 months ago now, and went through that whole activity with you of finding a college that might be a good fit. So if you haven't dug into that activity again since we saw you, now's a great time to show your parents, log into Naviance, show them the Supermatch tool that we were just chatting about a few minutes ago, and start making that list. And we really challenge students to really strongly consider a school that maybe you've never heard of before. Because what happens to a lot of our students is they all apply to the same 20 or so schools. And that makes it harder for you because they only have so many spots. So if you start spreading that net out a little bit wider, everybody has a more successful and happy experience with this whole thing. You might be creating a preliminary list of schools you might be wanting to apply to, getting your resume in order, because in all those applications, you have to enter all the activities and things that you've been up to over the last few years. We're going to talk more about the SAT and ACT in a few minutes. The jury is still out on who is going to be needing that, who's going to be wanting it, but we'll keep you updated as soon as we have more information too. And if you think you might need letters of recommendation, which the Senior Survival Guide will tell you, but I can tell you now, if you're applying to UC and CSU, no letters of recommendation are accepted for those schools at all. It's really private and out-of-state colleges that accept letters of recommendation. So if you think you might need those, not a bad idea to ask one of your junior teachers before you leave for summer. Some teachers have a limit of how many they have time to write. Switching over to summer, you might need to remediate a grade if you have a D or an F in one of your A through G classes. It would be your last opportunity to remediate that in a summer class. That would be a good time to do it. Really curating those college lists, thinking about doing college visits. One of the silver linings, I'd say, from kind of the world closing down like it did was schools really stepped up their virtual visit game. So almost all schools, either via Naviance or YouTube even. If you look up colleges on YouTube, you can find tons of virtual tours available for different schools. So if you can't actually get to an in-person visit before your application time, you can do that online. Again, taking your SAT or ACT if you choose. And, think about, this is your last childhood summer. Sorry, parents, it's the truth. How do you want to spend it? Family time, fun, get a job, that kind of thing is great experience that colleges are also looking at. What have you done outside the classroom? So there's lots of opportunities to do things that are just fulfilling for yourself and are also a good idea for college. And then you could start brainstorming those college essays. The UCs usually publish their personal insight questions early, so you can take a look at them and kind of start thinking about what you might want to say if you're applying to UC. CSU doesn't have essay questions at this point. And then what we're always saying, sleep, relax, read, have fun if you can. Fall of senior year, we're not going to worry about the details of that yet. We've shared enough. And counselors present to seniors early September at school to get you all going with everything you need to do for getting your applications started. Okay, so SAT and ACT, I know this is always a hot question. I've seen a couple questions in the chat about it. Obviously, many colleges changed their recommendations and their requirements because of COVID. So UC is no longer accepting ACT or SAT scores, period. That's what's happening with them. CSU is currently to be determined. We were reading, Ms. Abogado and I were reading today online, and one of the emails they sent us, and their board of trustees is voting on it in March. If I was a betting person, I'd say they're going to go the way of UC, but we do not know. So we will let you know as soon as we know what CSU decides when it comes to SAT and ACT. We do have a link here, though, that's been updated regularly. I looked at it today, and it was updated in February of this year. That has it's just like a 4-page list of schools and their testing policies. So it's really up to you to look to see what the schools that you are applying to, what they're going to be asking for when it comes to test scores for your graduating class. Community colleges do not require these tests at all. Even if if you go to community college and then transfer in 2 years, you don't have to take it then. I have some students thinking that. If you don't go straight to a 4-year from high school, you don't need to take either of these exams at all. To register and for more information about both of these tests, you would go to the College Board. That's the entity that puts on the SAT, and then straight to ACT for more information about that test. But like I said, as we become updated with different policies, we will be publishing that information and letting you know. I like to put this out here. This is for students who are planning to play a sport in college of D1, 2, or 3. You do need to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center. It's a website. This will be a link when you have access to the slides, and it walks you through everything you need to do. We send your transcript into them and all of that, and that website really describes everything you need to know about that. Okay, so like we said, we're huge proponents of community college at Cal High. It's a great option for a lot of our students. Obviously, it's an excellent value. DVC has up to 4 free terms if you're meeting a minimum GPA and credit requirements. That's your first 2 years of college for free. So if cost is a concern, which it is for most families I know, it's a really great option. And you're not selling yourself short either, because the opportunities there are so rich and so diverse that you can be anything and do anything by starting at a community college. Sometimes the classes are smaller. You can get to know students and professors a little bit better. maybe you don't ready to move from home. Maybe you don't know what you want to study. So you'd rather not spend all the money on a 4-year university for all of your general education requirements. Great transfer opportunities, guaranteed transfer to most UC campuses, guaranteed admission to East Bay, CSU East Bay, and San Francisco State. And this is my #1 favorite fact, is DVC is the top feeder school to Berkeley and Davis, meaning most transfer students that are coming into Berkeley and Davis are coming from DVC. So we're so lucky to have a school like that and so nearby to us. UC is accepting 1 transfer for every 2 freshmen. And again, there's wonderful training programs that link directly to jobs, one being dental hygienist, and many, many more if you go that route. So again, we're always going to be really supportive of that option.
I do also want to chime in for the community colleges. Because of the prerequisites for some of the majors that they might be going into, there are also a lot of times students are able to receive an associate's degree before they even transfer to a 4-year university. So if they're looking for internships in their last 2 years, they can, on their resume already have proof that they are a completer. They have completed this associate's degree in order to transfer. While it's not a requirement and not necessary in order to transfer to a 4-year school after community college, it's just a really, really great piece in that transfer plan as well. Because oftentimes it might only require 1 more class, or some students actually just by doing the GEs and the prerequisites for their major already meet all of the requirements for that associate's degree.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't know if you see everything I see here. Can you see the links to the videos, Christine?
I see the videos. Yeah.
Oh,
I think
you do.
that one's starting.
Oh, I don't want that. There we go. Hold on. I don't want to play these. Oh, they're both starting. Uh-oh. I'm going to go back. Okay. I wanted to make these videos available to you. I'm not going to play them here, but we're all hearing on the news of a shortage of certain skilled labor like carpentry. I don't know if you've wanted to have a project done at your house anytime soon, but it's taking a long time to get companies to be able to do work at your house. And there's so much job opportunity in these vocational type of fields. And so again, like it says on here, earn while you learn. If you're not sure what you want to do, there's tons of programs that can help train you for a career in a trade, perhaps, where you can go to college down the line if you've decided that there's something that you want to study. So just a couple of videos to listen to. And I have a disclaimer on that one, the bottom one with that woman in the yellow shirt, because she says that all high school counselors are saying everyone needs to go to a 4-year college. And as you now know, none of us are saying that. So I want to add that disclaimer, but both of these videos have some great info about trade programs and vocational schools, if that's something that you're interested in doing. Try to get out of here. There we go. I also like to put on here, I don't personally have a ton of information about this, but we do have military recruiters who come to our campus every year. I think from all branches of the military. I don't know about the space program yet, but they come and they have appointments with our College and Career Center coordinator, Ms. Nichols. So if you're interested in something like that, please come in and chat with her. She's got a lot of contacts and a lot of information for you about that. Okay, a few final thoughts. We are wrapping it up. We know we've been talking for almost an hour. A lot of parents are wondering, how can I support my child, through this process? And I think the one thing that always comes to mind is keeping this information private, letting this be your student's story to tell if they want to tell it, right? What their SAT scores were, their GPA, or the colleges that they're applying to. Let them be the driver of who gets that information. I think sometimes our kids feel more pressure than we realize because they want to make their parents proud, So just kind of taking a backseat a little bit to those things, I think, can be helpful in having them not feel so much pressure from us. Encouraging a realistic range of schools and keeping an open mind about choices. We always have students in our office saying, well, I don't know, my parents really want me to apply here or there. And of course, we want our kids to apply to the schools we went to, I know. But, just keeping an open mind and helping them to think more widely than just what everybody else is doing. Having us not be the only voice is helpful with that. Helping your child stay organized with tasks and using a calendar if they're still needing a little organizational help, that can be helpful. Communicating your own family values and supporting an ethical approach. I know sometimes this feels like, we hear this message that it's impossible to get into college and we've got to do all the things necessary. And our experience is that just isn't true. Students don't have to be up all night taking every AP class and doing everything under the sun to go on and be happy, successful, college educated people. It's just not how it is. And then obviously encourage fun and rest, making sure they're getting to bed at a reasonable hour most nights. Couple recommended readings, and these things have been hugely impactful. These books have been hugely impactful for me as a parent. My kids are a little bit younger, but I'm not far from this stage either. And anyone I know who has read How to Raise an Adult has been changed. So I really recommend you read it if you haven't. Julie Lycott Haynes has written several books and has done several documentaries about just kind of raising our kids in this crazy world, especially in the Bay Area. She worked at Stanford, so she has some really interesting insight into this world that we're all in. And then secondly, The Gift of Failure was one I read recently, of just kind of letting our kids deal with some of these small issues on their own, and how that is a gift because they learn such important life skills when they learn to kind of figure some things out on their own. Okay, helpful resources here. Again, these are things that you will be able to see when I send out the slides. I'm not going to spend too much time here. I do want to send you off to dinner if you haven't eaten yet. I also have a link here with Q&A that was pre-submitted. So you'll see on here, I have it here. These are the questions that a lot of people pre-submitted. So I put the questions and I put the answers, and you have access to all of these. So if you pre-submitted a question, it's a good chance your answer is there. So you can take a look at that once we send these slides out. And then really just, we just want to thank you for tuning in. We know it was an hour, so we appreciate your patience. And then I know it's a ton of information. And like I said at the beginning, it's a stressful time because it's an important time. We all want what's best, and students you're watching, we all want what's best for you. And we're here to help. That's the number one important thing, is that your counselor's door is open to you. You're welcome to stop in anytime, any day at school to run through any of this or anything else. You absolutely don't need to do this alone. Like I said, we see 700 seniors a year through this, so we're pretty well seasoned, and we'd love to chat with you about your questions.
Ms. Bellini, do we have some time from some of the Q&A I've been saving?
Yes, yeah. So it looks like we have about 20 questions that we didn't answer in the chat. So if you feel like you've had enough of us tonight, you're free to log off, and thank you so much for joining us. And so we'll go through these questions now. And then, so go ahead, take it away.
You can definitely tell who the type A counselor of the bunch is, because I have a Google Doc going of them organized by category. So we're going to go through this. The first one was just a bell schedule question about would taking a 7th period basically make it so you couldn't do sports or other after school activities?
No, that was one of the things that was obviously vital in creating this new bell schedule. Not having a period is not something we chose. It's something the state chose for us. And so I believe they said no sports will start before 4 o'clock. So I think we'll be fine with that.
Alrighty, thank you. And then we had some questions about courses and credits. So one that was coming up was if you could explain a little bit more in depth how it works if you want to do like an AP Government or AP Economics, because you still have to take the other one. Mm-hmm. And then what do you do with that, right? You have one semester of a class, and what happens?
Right. So if you take just one AP option and the regular option of the other, you can do several things. One, you can be unscheduled for that. Say you take econ first semester and now you don't have anything to do. You can just have an unscheduled period. So go home early that day. You could add a PE class, or we have a couple 1 semester electives. That is something that I kind of dream of growing at our school, more 1 semester options, but we don't have a ton now, but we do have a few. So you could also TA. If you have a favorite teacher that you'd love to spend more time with, you could help in the classroom.
Great. And then could you talk a little bit about for students who still need PE credits, how does playing a sport factor into that?
So any student who plays a Cal High sport for one season can earn the 10 credits needed for PE. Now that you're going to be seniors, though, us counselors don't love it if you're waiting for a senior year sport to earn your PE credit, because anything can happen, right? You could twist your ankle or something and you can't, or you might not make a team. And that actually happened with one of my students just recently, and it's second semester now. And so now we're kind of scrambling to figure out how the student can get the 10 credits. We figured it out, but it just added stress for everybody. So if you are a senior and you still need those 10 credits, your counselors are going to really encourage you to sign up for a PE class. You can say, no, I'm going to run cross country in the fall, but a spring sport for senior year, it's very uncomfortable for all of us. So we're going to say no to that one. But
that's how my hair is going to start going gray.
That's right. I'm already there, but maybe that's why.
Okay. And then I like this question. If AP and honors classes are not required for high school graduation, what are the advantages of taking them?
That's a good question. So AP and honors classes are an opportunity to learn more deeply in courses that you're super interested in. It is a way to earn a higher GPA. Make me say that. So you do get higher GPA credit for honors and AP classes because it's a lot harder, right? You're working harder. It is also a way on your transcript to show a little bit more rigor, depending on what kinds of colleges you are applying to. It can show your interest in a subject, and it can show, your aptitude in different areas as well.
Yeah, and I do want to throw out there the difference between AP and honors. They both get the weighted GPA. They're both more work and more in depth, but the AP is by the College Board, and there's a test that you can take at the end of the class to potentially earn college credit. So that's really the biggest distinction between those two.
Right.
Okay, this one says, theater and journalism classes are vocational art. What is the value of these after high school? Do colleges consider them, basically, does doing a non-A through G class for several years help you?
So many of these types of things are like kind of hard to determine, right? But if you're a theater student who has been in theater for 4 years, that shows a certain level of commitment, and it just kind of shows a part of who you are, right? It shows a passion that you have. And so it isn't all about grades and transcripts and all of those things. It's, colleges are creating what they hope to be a well-rounded student body with diverse students and diverse interests. So showing a commitment to something is a good idea. Not to mention the fact, just the experience that you'll have doing that. We're always going to be experience first, right? Being in drama for 4 years is something that a student will probably remember their whole lives, which we find really valuable.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so could you talk a little bit about like the GPAs that people see on a transcript, right? They see their unweighted, they see their weighted, they see their Cal Grant GPA, their A through G GPA, and it's a lot of different numbers to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. I think y'all could probably weigh on this just as much as I could. The thing that we always say, it reminds students, and maybe just tell you for the first time you knowing this, is that colleges, they calculate their own GPA. So they take what they want, they use what they want, they weight what they want. And so the GPAs that we're showing are kind of what we have and what we've calculated, but not necessarily what colleges are going to think of as your GPA.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the A through G GPA is specific to CSU UC. Okay, so many good questions. Question related to NDCs, and this is more of a logistical question. So if a student's taking a summer course to advance, would they put the next class on their course selection sheet?
No. So on your course selection sheet, you put the next class that you're currently eligible for. So if you're in algebra, well, we're talking juniors now. So if you're in algebra 2 now, and you're planning on taking pre-calc over the summer, you still sign up for pre-calc, because the process that you do via the district website, this form you have to fill out, that will indicate to me over the summer when I'm making the schedule to move you to the next class. But so for now, you sign up for the class that you are most eligible for.
Yes. Okay, we had a question about transcripts and elective credits, which is always the burning question. So even though it might show that you have not earned any elective credits, we're going to go over this in our one-on-one meetings, but I strongly advise you to not really worry about that electives number right now and just focus on the number of overall credits, because that's what's most important. So really you should be looking at like 160 credits remaining-ish. And then you're in a good spot. 170, we can get there in summer school. So don't worry too much about the actual number of electives credits remaining, just look at that total earned. Okay.
I've never had a student not graduate because they didn't have enough electives. Just so you know. That doesn't happen. I know it's scary when you see that, but we got you.
Yes, same with please don't look at the academic plan progress. Just look at your transcript, talk to your counselor, we're your source for that. Maybe Ms. Abogado would want to talk about this one. As a counselor, what are your recommendations for a student who hasn't decided what they want to major in college?
I would recommend one, you can apply as undeclared, and we do get students getting into great colleges as an undeclared major, just signifying that they are going to be exploring in their first couple years of college and are interested in finding out what major they might want to be, which one they might want to select while they're there. And then the other piece would be, to do the Naviance career exploration. There's a lot of different tools there. So a lot of like interests and surveys that they can take in order to kind of narrow down certain areas that they might be interested in taking. And also just utilizing the people around you. There are, people in your family who might be in a lot of different jobs that you've never asked them, what is it that you do? And, just having that conversation and finding out about, a new career that you may never have even considered. And, this person seems to be loving their life. And so, yeah, I would ask people around you as well.
Awesome. And then someone was asking about if there's a volunteer hour requirement for the colleges, or I guess for high school is a good one to answer to. I know we get that sometimes.
So we don't have a volunteer hour requirement for graduation purposes, and I don't recall of any colleges having a requirement of volunteer hours. If you want to indicate that you have volunteered for a certain, nonprofit organization or anything like that, and would like to write about those in your college essays, that's a really great place to indicate that, or in your lists of activities. But I don't believe there's a requirement of volunteer hours anywhere.
Yeah, I've never heard of one either. Okay. When is the Common App accessible for juniors?
I believe it opens during the summer. I don't recall exactly when.
Oh, so I can answer this one then. They can technically create their Common App account now. They can look on it, they can see what's there, but it gets rolled over in August. So you wouldn't really want to do data entry before that, because then it gets rolled over to the new school year. And even though you still have your account, that data entry is lost. So basically you could look at it now, but August is your time to shine. Okay. And then we have questions about earning community college credits while you're in high school. So like what happens with those credits that you accumulate?
Well, you have the option it's kind of a complicated question because there's so many different ways that students do this. What we recommend students do if they have community college credits that they don't need for high school graduation, right? It's not like a gov class that you took to get your government credit for graduation. If you have classes like that, maybe you took a psych class, or I see students taking like criminal justice classes and things like that, probably just for their interest. Hold on to them on that DVC transcript. And then when you get to college, you can take it to the registrar and ask if you can transfer those credits towards your degree. I think different colleges will have different policies about that. And if those classes even do anything for your major, they may or may not. So for now, really thinking about if you're not planning to be a transfer student, it's kind of different if you're going to if you're going to start community college and transfer, then yeah, those credits are probably going to transfer. That's why I'm saying it's a kind of a complicated thing. But for the most part, if students are taking classes at DVC now, and they're not needed for graduation, we really recommend you keep them off your high school transcript so that you have a better chance of being able to transfer them to your university degree later.
Awesome. I think we've talked about, there was a question about ELC. I know that Cheryl Youngberg and I went pretty in depth into that in our last copy with the counselors. So I'll go ahead and link that because I think we spent a few minutes talking about ELC and what it is. So I'll go ahead and link that. And then if any of you have any words of wisdom to offer about gap years, I referred to the wonderful Kathy Nichols, but just in case you have anything else to say about that.
I wrote something about this in the question and answer document that I linked in the presentation. And really, you know, a gap year is simply just taking a year between high school and post high school education. So students can do anything with that time. You know, you can work there, you can travel. There are travel programs that are geared towards that type of student. But nothing that I personally have any experience with, or any programs that, you know, that our school works with individually. Christine, I don't know if you have more experience with students doing that.
I'm sorry, I was reading a couple of the questions as a Q&A and I did not hear.
Yes, we're just talking about gap year. Do you, in your previous role, did you have many students doing gap year?
I honestly, I didn't have too many students. And the one I can recall right now was accepted into a college and chose to defer a year. And so during that year, she was not allowed to take any college courses, which would have kind of nullified her admittance to that school. So something to keep in mind if you are choosing to go that option. And so she was able to travel, and you know, she was able to go abroad and just get some really great life experience before starting her freshman year. But it wasn't that she, you know, took a gap year and it was like a specific program that she went for necessarily. So she took her, you know, gap year more for just personal experience, and it was great for her. She loved it.
Okay. I was going to type out an answer, but I realized it's probably just easier to say it. So we get questions about the fourth year of math recommendation. So like if a junior is taking pre-calc, yes, that technically counts as a fourth year of math. But at the same time, a lot of colleges do want to see you kind of keeping up with math all through high school. And I would say that is especially important depending on what your major is. I know for very math and STEM focused majors, they're going to want you to take math into your senior year, even if you've already done 4 years.
Okay. I see a question here asking about AP test scores, and do colleges care about that?
I've seen a couple, yeah.
Yeah, colleges don't usually know your AP test scores. So they're not used for admissions at all. It's just the grade in the class. It's after the fact, it's after you're admitted, obviously for senior year AP classes where the scores wouldn't even be available yet during the application season. So the AP test scores are not used for admissions. Rather, that's where you can potentially earn the college credit, is if you score well on the AP test. That's what indicates that you might be able to earn college credit depending on the school. But it's not something that is considered for admissions purposes.
And then Kelly, I wasn't sure if you had like a lineup of which questions.
I think we've worked through most, like all the ones that came in during the presentation. So now that it's all these coming in, I don't have a lineup anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just answering a couple that are real individual. So I'm just going to send those off. And, you know, I think we can probably wrap up. What I do want to say is I know you may be left with questions that we didn't answer. And I understand, of course, because there are so many things one could ask. So I do really want to remind you that students, if you're still listening, you are going to have a one-on-one with your counselor. So at the week of April 18th, I know seems like a long ways away. There's quite a few weeks between now and then. So, have a page in your notebook or a note in your phone. And as you're sitting talking with your parents tonight about all of the things you just heard, write those questions down now, because you know how it is when you're thinking, oh, I'm going to ask, and then you sit down in front of the person and it's gone. So be taking some notes about questions that you have. Know that students, you are welcome in our offices all day, every day. So please come and ask us as these questions come up. And again, we're here for you every step of the way. So, and parents, if there are questions that didn't get answered tonight, feel free to shoot your counselor an email. We are in and out of classrooms so much over the next few weeks that answering questions over email is definitely the quickest way to get to us if you have a burning question.
And then also utilizing our website as a resource, we do have a lot of information on there, including the senior survival guide. And we also have an FAQ for a lot of our frequently asked questions. And then also the golden sheet that was shared with your students. I believe that was last week. My weeks are blurring together. So a lot of the information that we shared is on here. So, all the information for online registration, the AP honors contracts, the course request changes, the non-district courses, and what to be doing now. So definitely make use of the resources that we provided you as well.
Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. We're happy and excited to walk through this process with you.